Hello, welcome back to Final Girl Friday's gaming channel. My name is Molly, and tonight I'm taking a step away from the first-person survival horror for just a bit to play a game that I have had my eye on for a couple of months. I've specifically avoided watching other people play this because I knew that I wanted to check it out for myself. It's called Tiny Bunny. It was created by an artist named Saikono and released in April of this year. It is evidently a non-linear horror visual novel, so there will likely be quite a bit of narration on my part. If you don't enjoy the idea of listening to me read a lot, this might not be the Let's Play for you. Alright, so let's just start a new game. And the music is already just, it's really good. The wind clawed at my window all night long. It wandered the fields and howled like a hungry beast. An endless song weaved from all sorts of voices, shrill, gentle, sneery, twined the air. They were shouting and laughing, and arguing about something. Someone was running through the snow while casting long shadows that would occasionally creep close to my bed. Our house had a mind of its own, the creaky old mind of a building that had seen a lot in its days and was seemingly trying to share its wisdom with the inhabitants. The lonely house faced the forest, and the dark green thicket gazed back with its hollow eyes, rustling, whizzing, swaying back and forth. One could come out and stand at the edge of the forest to reassure themselves. There was nobody behind the crooked trees. Fuzzy silhouettes swaying in the wind couldn't possibly do any harm. It's just a play of light and shadow. Just a play. I knew it was just my imagination. I was already 12, after all. Still. Ooh, I just noticed that was the face of a wolf. Was it always the face of the wolf, or did it become one? Episode 1, The Owl Will Arrive.
Убери книгу немедленно.
Hey, put away your book.
Сколько раз говорила, не читай за столом, вредно. Сидишь, сутулился весь.
I didn't realize that it was voice acted. How many times have I told you not to read at the table? It's bad for your health. Look at how slouched you are. Oh, I can hide my book. For a second, I thought it was asking me to hide. Mom yells at me, and I just duck under the table. I hid my book. I didn't protest and put the book about Conan the Barbarian aside. I was stuck on a line I couldn't understand after reading it 3 times anyway. Olya had already finished her breakfast and was munching on some cookies. She was so enthusiastic she almost looked like your typical girl from commercials.
Пока не съешь, из-за стола не встанешь.
You're not going anywhere until you finish all of it. I, on the other hand, was still trying to drill a hole in the plate with my eyes, as if it would make the porridge disappear. Hazy anxiousness welled up inside, all because of the previous sleepless night, the black forest around our house, and the gloomy wind. The longer I waited, the colder the lumpy white substance became. It looked like a jellyfish from the Cousteau Odyssey. I love that show. I wonder how horrifying the bottom of the ocean is, or how cold the black forest is at night. The spoon fell out of my hand. Mom showered me with a cold glare from her green eyes.
Что я говорила?
What did I just say?
Я достану.
I'll get it. I had 10 seconds to catch my breath before battling the nasty porridge once again. I felt around for the spoon. Mom's done. What is this, carved on the other side of the table? Karina. Huh, that's my mom's name. I guess she carved it out with something pointy when she was little. She sure was a rascal, damaging the furniture like that. She would scold me for a week if I did something similar, though. Should I remind her about it? No, she's been in a bit of a bad mood lately. I imagined her being my age, sitting under this table. I wonder, was Mom afraid of the dark back then? Or the sounds coming from the attic? Or the thick forest? I imagined my grandma coming into my little mom's room, sitting at the edge of her bed, where Olya sleeps nowadays, and saying this in her soft, smooth voice.
Тайга особое место, дитятка.
That is a nice voice. Taiga is a special place, little girl.
Она к тебе присматривается, принюхивается,
It's watching you closely, sniffing you out,
словно хочет понять, что ты за зверь такой.
trying to discern what kind of beast you are.
Понравишься, в беде не бросит.
If you're a good sort, it won't abandon you in times of trouble.
А будешь проказничать, схватит за бочок и утащит с собой под землю.
But if you're a bad apple, it'll grab you by the side and drag you under the ground.
Тут и дело с концом.
And that would be it. Grandma was caring. She never fought with anybody, never yelled, never swore. Those were the times without the maddening screams until late at night, without smashed dishes and mutual accusations. Our parents used to love each other back then. I remember listening in on one of their conversations by chance. They were talking about Grandma getting prepared for her funeral. She had already bought a casket. And she called it her cute funeral box. I like the grandma character. It waited for its time in the closet, patiently. What? How big is that closet? It was black, upholstered with meat-colored material on the inside. I saw it when my grandma was getting buried. The house didn't change since the time she was alive. Only all the photos were gone. Glass-covered pictures with gray faces of my ancestors. They all had a dead but watchful look in their eyes. I crawled out from under the table. Olya was done with her cookies and was looking at my share like a sly woodland creature. I turned my gaze toward the frosted window. There were a lot of dark pines outside, but they didn't grab my attention. The pattern of frost formed a picture on the glass.
Оля, гляди, лиса!
Olya, it's a fox! Okay, it wasn't a wolf, it was a fox.
Где?
Where? It looked almost like those optical illusion thingies they put on the back of student notebooks. A mixture of lines at first glance, but if you blur your vision a little bit and look under a certain angle...
Да не на улице, на стекле.
Not outside, on the window.
Смотри, вот нос, вот.
Look, here's the nose, and here's...
Ну-ка, доедай.
Hey, eat up.
Да, да, сейчас.
Yes, just a moment.
Я ничего не вижу.
I didn't see anything.
Живо. Совсем немного осталось.
Hurry up, there's not much left. God, I could listen to people speak Russian all day long.
А, вот. Но все равно не похоже.
Oh, there it is, but it still doesn't look like one.
А я говорю, похоже.
I'm telling you, it does.
Не-а.
Doesn't really need a translation, but yeah,
Похоже.
it does.
Прекратите. Ну что за дети?
Stop it. These kids, I swear. Now I couldn't see the fox either. It disappeared. Went away. Only the frosty patterns, similar to stretched out nettle leaves, kept creeping up the glass. My dad entered the kitchen with long, measured steps. I want to have a beard like his when I grow up. Mom would always ask jokingly, "Come on, shave it off, it stings." This was so long ago. Nowadays, rumbling doors and witty comebacks were an everyday occurrence. Olya always covers her ears whenever she hears something like, "What's the point in all this?" through the wall. "It's all for your sake," Dad would reply, "for the sake of our family." I always caught every sound in fear of hearing the most dreaded, the deadliest word that started with a D. D-I-V-O. I don't even want to finish it. It was scary to imagine that me and my little sister could be torn apart and taken into two different families.
Да что твоя лиса? Вот у меня на окне сова.
Anyway, your fox is nothing. I have an owl on my window.
Опять ты со своей совой.
Ooh, that's a voice. You and your owl talk again.
Так ты же вчера мне верил.
You said you believed me just yesterday.
Никто ключи от машины не видел?
Has anybody seen my car keys?
Вроде оставлял на
I
подоконнике.
remember leaving them on the windowsill.
Вроде.
Right.
Вроде оставлял, вроде нет.
Maybe you did, and maybe not.
Вроде взрослый мужчина, отец двоих детей, а вроде...
You're a grown man, a father of two, and still.
Перестань, пожалуйста, Карина.
Karina, please stop.
Дай мне спокойно собраться.
Just let me get ready in peace.
В корзине твои ключи, возле телефона.
Your keys are in the basket near the phone. She knew where they were the whole time. Mom's kind of mean.
Огромное тебе человеческое спасибо.
Well, thank you very much.
Антон, ешь быстрее, а то как мученик сидишь.
Anton, stop making a martyr of yourself and finish eating already.
А сова?
But the owl.
Не было там никакой
There
совы.
was no owl.
Была.
But there was one.
Глазюки огромные. Во, и светятся.
It had giant glowing eyes. Oh. Olya sprung up from the chair and placed her hands on her little face, imitating a pair of eyes with her fingers, the size of an apple each.
В прошлом году бабай в шкафу. Сейчас сова?
Last year you had Babai in your closet, and now this owl.
Но я же видела.
What's the glossary? I want to know what Babai means. Oh. Babai, in Slavic folklore, a nocturnal spirit used by parents to threaten their ill-behaving children. Oh, that's cool. But I saw it. Olya shifted her gaze back and forth from Dad to Mom to me, but couldn't find any support. Really, I'm not supporting her owl claim. I wanted her to notice the fox. Sibling solidarity, man.
А ты не думала подружиться с ней, нет?
Have you thought about befriending it?
Вымышленными мышами
You know,
покормить, например?
like feeding it with imaginary mice?
Не подначивай.
Don't bully our girl.
Просто
She's just
малая
afraid to
еще,
sleep
и
alone
спать
because
одна
she's
боится.
still little. Olya pouted her lips in rebellion and rushed into the hallway. The staircase that led to the second floor creaked. Mom gave Dad a strict look. Oh, that look in her eyes. It's so uncomfortable to be pinned under it. Dad just snorted in reply and laughed, ringing with the keys he just found. A minute had passed, and the theme song from The Little Mermaid echoed through the house. It was stored on incredibly worn-out cassette tape, which Dad already had glued together once. It's so easy to fix objects, by gluing them back together, for example. But how do you fix a relationship? Mom moved to the living room, and I was left alone, anxiously stealing glances at the window. Olya had trouble sleeping ever since we moved to this house. She would toss and turn or curl up into a ball under her blanket. Sometimes she would jump up in the middle of the night and turn on the VCR. Cartoons helped to take her mind off all the troubles we had with the move and our parents. Ah. And then Olya said she saw that giant flying monster outside her window. She became obsessed with it. Our parents did everything in their power. They tried every little trick to get rid of those ridiculous fears. Olya refused to sleep alone and didn't believe that the owl was just one of her nightmares. After tonight, I was unsure what to make of my sister's words, what to think of it myself. Can nightmares be infectious? Just last night, I couldn't get a wink of sleep and ended up thinking of what to expect in my new school. There were a couple of days left before the beginning of a new term. My imagination drew long, twisting hallways that led to a classroom full of kids. But all the students behind their desks were simply dark figures, cut out using a template. Circular holes gaped in the middle of their faces, and pairs of eyes blinked inside those holes. It was as if some completely different creatures were looking at me from behind the flat black silhouettes. Their cruel glares, filled with icy sneers, made me shiver from head to toe. Will I survive here? Won't they gang up on me and beat me down, stomp on me with their bloodied shoes? The damn school can burn for all I care. I just wished for anything to happen to it. Doesn't really matter what. I didn't want to go there that badly. I didn't want to see people who are just itching to smack me on the head, trip me up, think of a new offensive name for me worse than the previous one. I felt like the glasses I wore made me an outsider or some sort of monster. My gaze slid across the drawings hanging on the walls. I couldn't consider myself a great artist, but Olya begged me to hang them. Drawing was the only thing that made me happy as of late. The small circle of friends I had also enjoyed my paintings, and they promised to call me from time to time. Sometimes I imagine Mom picking up the phone and saying in a cold voice, "You've got the wrong number." Or, "Anton is not around." Anton is not around. I imagine my future classmates lying in their beds just like me, listening to the howls of invisible werewolves outside their windows. Maybe my new classmates will like me after all. But who would ever like a boy with thick glasses? Me, I like boys with thick glasses. It's cool, man. It's cool. It's 2021. We like glasses now. I mean, my dad used to wear glasses when he was little, and now he's married to the most beautiful woman on the planet, my mom. The house creaked, pressed by the wind. The condo we used to live in, a 9-floor concrete building, buzzed with the neighbor's drill, mumbled with a TV set from behind the wall, cried like a baby from the big family next door. Our current house, though I can't really call it new, was completely different. It was silent and easygoing during the day. Its shadows lay dormant in the corners, on the closet, cobwebs, and under the stairs. But they all woke up during the night. Something was watching me from every corner, almost as if the old photos of my diseased family, with their ashen eyes, were hanging on the walls in place of my drawings. The floor was squeaking, rusty drains were moaning, the attic was occupied by noisy drafts. One could think, I really like what the music just turned to just now. One could think the house was performing some sort of demonic melody. And then I realized I was, in fact, hearing music. It was already playing for a good while. Somewhere at the edge of my perception, I could hear a flute. It was mixed in with the sound of the wind, of the creaking old house, and my thoughts, too. I stood up and rushed to the window. I wanted to reassure myself that this music was nothing more than a product of my imagination. It's not like someone is playing it there amidst the cold, snowy night, right? Open. Someone was dancing in the field. Black silhouettes I could barely make out, with the dark forest as their backdrop. They jumped around, basked in moonlight, bumped into piles of snow, rolled around and crawled on all fours. Stories about wolves playing under the moon came to mind, but these were clearly not wolves. They stood upright at times, circled around holding hands and whipping up snow, disappearing into the shadows for a brief moment and then coming back. Something bizarre was going on. Shadows dancing in the starless abyss made my imagination go wild, making me anxious at the same time. Suddenly, the music had stopped. The dancing shadows froze in place, and I could swear pierced me with their eyes. One of the silhouettes immediately parted from the bizarre shadow carnival and sprinted across the field with giant leaps. Oh. It glided on squeaky snow without leaving any prints until it was devoured by the pitch-black shadow of my house, which became even darker and thicker. My heart was jumping around like the bird inside a cage. I shut the curtains with a swift motion and stepped back toward the bed. They saw me. A freezing torrent of fear washed over me. I stood in the middle of a perfectly dark room and listened to some unwanted guest move and scrape around, looking for an entrance. The sound moved to the right, then circled around the house. Now my guest should be at the front door. I jumped into the bed and covered myself with the blanket as if it could protect me. The shackles of fear locked my muscles. I remembered the funeral, my grandma lying there, hands crossed on her chest, her facial features sharp like that of a tin doll. Ants running up and down the legs of chairs that held my grandma's casket. I imagined those little creatures climbing up her head and pulling up her eyelids with their tiny legs. Then her wrinkly eyeballs would once again move inside their sockets and she'd be able to see her grandchildren. I was chanting the spell she taught me through the whole procedure. And now, lying under the blanket and listening to the squeaks and howls, I was repeating the same words.
На острове Буяне, в Синем океане, стоит домовина, в ней сало и глина, волосы седые, чертям еда, раба Божьего Антона не тронут никогда.
On the island of Buyan, underneath the blemished sun, in the sea of color blue, stands a cabin made of wood.
Бесы забудут дорогу к дому.
Evil, leave this house must.
Мертвые к мертвому, живое к живому.
Ashes to ashes, dust to dust. Bizarre sounds had disappeared. I cautiously peeked out from under the blanket and saw curtains waving around like a hangman. And then the night doused me with a new portion of boiling terror. The sound scratched at my eardrums. In reality, something or someone were scratching at the front door, hurriedly clawing at wood, demanding to be let in. God, I'm really enjoying the audio here. This music is fucking fabulous. The door was shut. Dad had become very cautious recently, so he installed a sturdy lock. I remember him staring at the forest intently as if he was looking for someone.
Мертвое к мертвому.
Ashes to ashes,
Живое к живому.
dust to dust. I hugged my knees, placing my chin between them, and drilled the door with my eyes. It was so flimsy and weak before the might of darkness. And then... the doorknob twitched, slightly. Then it turned halfway. Once, twice, as if the person who tried to enter had no hands. The doorknob tilted once more, and then started clicking violently. My jaw cramped from fear. My wet fingers clutched the blanket. The door creaked and opened. The wind taunted me, moaning inside the tin drains. Now you'll see. The door was wide open. The darkness writhed inside the carnivorous mouth of a doorway. Oh, geez, that's unsettling. Oh, it's saying Tony. It was as if the night itself was calling out to me, flapping its black wings and squeaking with rusty hinges. I was trembling, ensnared by the web of darkness that hung in the corners of my room, waiting for the one who weaved it to come out of the gaping black hole. My abdomen tightened and my chest rose up, ready to exhale a desperate scream. But before I was able to do anything, the darkness asked me,
Ты спишь, Тоша?
"Tony, are you asleep?" My sister's pale face protruded from the thick shadows. I almost screamed from relief.
Оля, я не сплю. Что случилось?
Olya? I'm not sleeping. Did something happen? Olya frowned and stuck out her lower lip, a clear sign that she was about to cry.
Оно опять прилетело и пялится на меня.
It's there again, staring at me.
Прогони ее, Тоша. Прогони, пожалуйста.
Shoo her away, Tony, please.
Я так боюсь.
I'm so scared. The fear that was tormenting me just a minute ago crawled away and hid somewhere in my stomach. I needed to calm Olya down.
Это был сон, глупая. Не пугайся. Сны не кусаются. Никто тебя не обидит.
It was just a dream, silly. Don't be scared. Dreams don't bite. No one's going to harm you. Olya sobbed. She was trying her best to believe me. But was I sure myself?
У меня есть идея.
I have an idea.
Пойдем к тебе в комнату, видик посмотрим. Спящую красавицу, например.
Let's go to your room and watch the video. Sleeping Beauty, for example.
Тебе же нравится этот мультик?
You like that cartoon, don't you?
Почему у спящей красавицы принца у меня эта страшная
Oh,
птица?
why does this Sleeping Beauty have a prince and I have this scary bird? That question took me by surprise.
Ладно, давай посмотрим Золушку.
All right, let's watch Cinderella. My thoughts became tangled, fuzzy. What was that? What studied me with its eyes while dancing feverishly under the moon? The darkness was clinging to the window, and it couldn't be fooled by my grandma's old chants. It couldn't be satisfied with a feast of lard and long ashen hair.
Тоша, ты идешь?
Tony, you coming?
Да, сейчас.
Yes, just a moment. Oh my god! Fuck you! Oh my god! Oh, that's like... It's like squishy eating sounds. Oh wow! It's animated! My whole body is tense. That was, startling. That's why I didn't want to laugh at Olya and her owl in the morning. Oh, someone's at the door. Who could be visiting us here in the middle of nowhere? We don't know anyone around here. So persistent. I felt extremely unsettled just from a silly thought that our morning guests could have come from the woods. I could barely hear voices coming from the front door. My mind was urging me to hide. In the closet, under the table, behind the curtains where Olya always hides. Tony, come here. I felt like kettlebells were tied to my feet, but still dragged them toward the hallway. A couple of policemen towered over me in the doorway. They smelled like frost and worry. My mom always winced and grumbled the moment she saw patrol cars, worse than bandits. At the moment, though, she looked somewhat confused.
Здравствуйте.
Hello. The senior officer, who wore a grim expression, nodded.
Тут мальчик вчера потерялся. Вовой зовут.
A boy had gone missing yesterday. His name's Vova.
Глянь, пожалуйста. Ты его не видел?
Look at this, please. Have you seen him? The policeman held out a photograph to me. Aw, kitty. There was a ginger boy around the age of elementary school, pictured with a wall carpet as the backdrop. He had a striped cat in his hands and wore a wide smile.
Нет.
No, I haven't.
Точно? Посмотри внимательно.
Are you sure? Look closely.
Где мне его видеть? Я тут никого не знаю. Да и из дома-то почти не выхожу.
Where would I see him? I don't know anyone around here. I barely leave the house.
А может, видел в окно?
Well, maybe you've seen him from the window?
Да. У тебя ведь окна на лес.
That's right. Your windows look straight at the forest, don't they? The window.
Нет, не видел.
No, I haven't seen anything.
Ясно.
I see. He sounded tired, but his eyes, his stare, long and heavy, was full of suspicion. I squirmed unwittingly under the weight of guilt, which his giant shadow cast over me. The policeman finally tore his eyes from me and glanced over the hallway, the stairway, and the cracks in the ceiling, which I haven't noticed before for some reason.
Вы, кстати, как на новом месте? Попривыкли уже?
How do you like your new place, by the way? Getting used to it?
Понемногу, только вот дочка маленькая по городу скучает.
Bit by bit. It's just our little daughter misses the city a lot.
Скучает, значит. Из местных вас никто не беспокоит?
Misses the city, huh? Have the locals been treating you well?
Все хорошо, спасибо.
Yes, everything is all right. Thank you. The policeman pierced through me one more time with his gray eyes. My head started spinning.
Может, вам помочь как-то?
Can I help you somehow? I asked that in a shaky voice to look like a polite boy and to end this unpleasant conversation sooner.
Я вот стою и думаю,
Now that I think about it,
ты малец на племеша моего похож.
you look just like one of my nephews, little fella.
Шустрый парнишка твоих лет, с такими же окулярами. Все книжками зачитывался, детективами.
He's a witty boy, around your age, wears the same type of goggles. Haha. Always engrossed in reading those mystery novels.
Когда летом погостить приезжал, говорит, что в школу милиции мечтает поступить.
Told me he wants to enroll in police school when his family visited this summer.
Как я, хотел людям помогать. Смекаешь?
Wanted to help other people, just like me, you see? I felt uncomfortable, as if a distant relative and not a police officer stood before me.
Ох, ребятушки.
You know what?
Сидите-ка вы лучше дома. Не ввязывайтесь ни во что. Жизнь сейчас совсем другая пошла.
Little boys like you should stay at home, steer away from trouble. The times have changed so much. Mom interjected in a cold voice.
Мне ли не знать?
You don't say.
Ну да ладно.
Ah, well then.
Ты, Антон, в каком классе учишься?
What grade are you in, Tony boy?
В 6-м.
6th?
Друзей-то на новом месте еще не
Have you
завел?
made any friends here so far?
Пока нет. Я только после каникул в школу пойду.
Not yet. I'll be going to school for the first time after summer break.
Тогда вот вам на всякий случай мой номер. Звоните, если узнаете что.
Ah, then I'll leave you my number, just in case. Call me if you have any new info. The policemen were gone, along with their shadows, the smell of cheap cologne, and the photo of a smiling boy. His face still stood before my eyes. I wondered what it was like for him, being all alone, there. For some reason, I thought of the forest, swaying in the wind. What did his poor parents feel? And what would my parents do if I had gone missing? Would they cry and thrash around hysterically? Or would they accuse each other like they always do and forget about me eventually?
Мам, а Вова этот в нашем лесу заблудился?
Mom, this Vova, did he go missing in our forest?
Выходит, что так. Бедный ребенок.
Seems like it. Poor child. I looked out the window at the road. The police UAZ drove off toward the village. New glossary term. I love the transition into the glossary. This is such a beautiful game. UAZ, a Soviet and Russian off-road freight passenger car brand, which was produced on the Olyanovsk car factory. Wow, I fucked that up. But that's what it is. It's a passenger car brand. It drove off toward the village. The officer's nephew came to mind when I was splitting off old paint from the windowsill. I remembered all the teenage mystery novels from the Black Kitty series I've read this summer. Oh. Black Kitty, a series of contemporary Russian original or translated teen mystery books. Your average boys and girls investigated all sorts of mysteries there. They looked for clues, spied on suspicious people, and after a set of amazing adventures, bam, solved any complicated case. They became local celebrities and must have made their parents very proud. I noticed a trail of policemen's footprints that led to the forest. And then it clicked in my head. Why don't I start an investigation of my own? Maybe I'll find that lost boy. And I'll get a reward. Olya will be so happy. And not only Olya, Mom and Dad too. Maybe they'll even forget about their quarrels for a while. Maybe I'll even save us from the D word. I fantasized about buying Olya a Tamagotchi and getting a cassette player and a bunch of tapes for myself. And a whole box of Kinder Surprise. When was the last time our parents bought us any toys? Last autumn, I think. My dad had lost his job at the time. There's that annoying song about it. That's a glossary term? Accountant, a song by an all-female Soviet pop band by the name of Kombinatsiya, combination, that became widely popular in the early 90s. Yeah, so the Disney cartoons, the Tamagotchi, the VHS tapes, I like that this is set in the early 90s, but of course because of the style of the artwork and just it doesn't feel visually, like right away, your mind doesn't immediately think, oh, this is set in the early 90s. I love how well they've established that through storytelling. It sets a really familiar tone for me anyway. I had little to no idea what was the accountant's job like. They count money, I think. Neighbors used to envy us. But nowadays, Mom and Dad barely had money to afford sweets, and Dad would always divide a single chocolate bar between me and Olya. So Dad used to be an accountant, but he lost his job. Sometimes I gave her my share too. No matter how much I wanted to eat sweets, she was still just a pipsqueak. I couldn't wait to go out looking for clues.
Пойду погуляю.
I'm going outside.
Ага, сейчас.
Yeah, right.
Чтобы потом милиционеры с твоей фотографией по домам
You want the
ходили.
police to go around with your photograph next?
Лес вон какой густой.
The forest is so thick.
А если мальчика звери дикие утащили? Или того хуже?
What if the boy got snatched up by wild animals, or something even worse? Even worse, echoed through the hallway.
Да я рядом буду. В лес не пойду.
I won't go far. I'll stay away from the forest.
Что я тебе сказала? Мне дважды повторять.
Did you hear what I said, or should I repeat myself?
Лучше портфель собери или соли поиграй.
Better go pack your school bag, or play with Olya. The sound of splashing water came from the kitchen. It meant that the argument was over, and Mom had had the last word. Oh, wow, okay. Ah, man. What is this eye? Oh, okay, cool. So, there are items we can look at. What is this? My parents prohibit me from making long-distance calls, but from time to time, I really want to hear my old friends. Sometimes I would just pick up the phone, listen to the low hum of the zoomer and the distant crackling, imagining the wind howling in the ice-leaden cords. Okay, says the phone. Got the cross above the door. This cross had seen so many people come and go in this house. It was black, as if it absorbed all human sin from the long years it was hanging under the ceiling. After Grandma died, Mom was going to take it off and hang a horseshoe in its place as a lucky charm, but she cut herself with the cross's sharp corner and almost fell from the stepladder. Dad called it a sign from above and ordered the cross to be left alone in its rightful place. Wow. Mom's peg top, a family relic. My mom played with it when she was little, then she gifted it to me. Olya was next in the succession line. The toy belonged to her now. She stared at the dancing spindle as if it could show her something, a fairy tale, or maybe even our future. Now even my little sister was a bit too old for the squeaky peg top. All right, so this is really, really cool, and I'm enjoying it so much. I am going to take a little bit of a break now, but I'll be back tomorrow. And when we come back, we will choose a direction. We're either going to go to the kitchen or into Harry Potter's house or out into the front yard. So I'm so intrigued. I am very intrigued and very impressed with this game thus far. In terms of visual novels, it's definitely one of the most immersive I think I've played, possibly ever. It's so beautiful. The artwork is amazing, and the music is just, it's fantastic. So, yeah, I hope you guys are enjoying it, and I'll be back tomorrow for more.